In today's episode, we go undercover to identify a 16-year-old arrogant rich kid speeding down a Texas road in his daddy's fancy pickup truck. He's had way too much to drink, but hey, the rules don't apply to him. After all, he's rich. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. When 4 innocent people die because of his actions, the world expects justice. But instead, he gets off with a slap on the hand. You better buckle up, because this story has wealth, tragedy, scandal, and even a bizarre escape to Mexico. Real people, true story, uncovered.
Ethan Anthony Couch was born in 1997 in Tarrant County, Texas. From the beginning, life handed him the kind of privilege most people can only dream of. His parents, Fred and Tanya Couch, weren't just wealthy. They were wealthy with a side of, "We don't believe in rules." Fred owned a successful sheet metal business. Tanya? She played the role of indulgent mom who thought her son's biggest problem in life was not being treated like the little prince she believed him to be. Together, they built Ethan a world where consequences were as rare as coupons at a Gucci store. Teachers said Ethan acted like school was optional. When the principal tried to discipline him once, his mom allegedly said, "We'll just buy our own school." Spoiler alert, she did. Ethan was pulled out and given homeschooling instead. Talk about no child left behind, unless you're Ethan Couch. Fast forward to June 15th, 2013. Ethan was just 16 years old, and his parents left him unsupervised in their mansion. Naturally, Ethan did what any unsupervised rich kid would do. He threw a party. Alcohol flowed freely. Beer, vodka, you name it. Now here's the thing. Ethan didn't just have a drink or two. He was so intoxicated that his blood alcohol content later measured 0.24. That's 3 times the legal limit for an adult. For a 16-year-old, that's not just drunk. That's "my liver just called in sick" drunk. But Ethan wasn't done. Around 11:45 p.m., he piled 7 friends into his father's red Ford F-350 pickup. Witnesses say he was speeding down Burleson-Retta Road at 70 miles per hour in a 40 zone, drunk, cocky, and behind the wheel of a truck that weighed more than some small houses. At the same time, a group of Good Samaritans had stopped on the side of the road to help a stranded driver. Their cars had their hazard lights flashing. They were doing the right thing, being the heroes of the night. And suddenly, tragedy struck. Ethan's truck slammed into the group. 4 people were killed instantly. Several others were critically injured, including one of Ethan's own passengers, Sergio Molina, who was left paralyzed for life.
I was on the phone with 911.
Tarrant County 911, what is your emergency?
There's a multi-car accident out front of my house.
While Eric's on with 911, half a dozen other frantic calls come in.
There's 4 or 5 kids. There's kids laying in ditches and streets.
Are you with the accident right now?
Oh, Lord. Oh, yes. There's another child in the ditch. Oh, my God.
Over, you're gonna get over. And when he swerved, the back tires jerked.
Just remember seeing something in the road, and then loud bang, and I remember being in the air.
Justice? Not exactly. Now, You'd think this is an open and shut case. Drunk driving, 4 dead, multiple injured. The sentence should have been long enough for Ethan to memorize every episode of Law and Order in prison. But enter the courtroom drama. Ethan's lawyers brought in a psychologist who delivered the phrase that would make national headlines: affluenza. According to this expert, Ethan was the victim. Yes, the victim of being too rich. His parents spoiled him so badly that he never learned the difference between right and wrong. In other words, Your Honor, he's not guilty. He's just rich. It was a defense so outrageous, it sounded like a bad joke. If you're poor and commit a crime, you get punished. If you're rich and commit a crime, apparently, you get therapy. The judge agreed. Ethan was sentenced not to prison, but to 10 years of probation and time in a cushy rehab facility that cost more than most people's mortgages.
Taking him away from his family and teaching him to be a responsible citizen, that's a consequence.
The victims' families were devastated. The public was outraged. Late-night comedians had a field day, and Ethan Couch became known forever as the affluenza teen.
Affluenza. Too pampered for prison?
Affluenza.
Affluenza.
This is preposterous.
When a teen with blood on his hands and money in his pockets didn't serve jail time.
I am sickened by this judge.
Up to that point, life has just told him you can get away with it.
For a while, Ethan seemed to be living the probation life. No drinking, no driving, mandatory check-ins. But let's be real, this was Ethan Couch. The kid had never followed rules in his life. He was spotted at parties, photographed around alcohol, and basically gave off the vibe of, laws don't apply to me. It was only a matter of time before he slipped up again. In 2015, 2 years after the crash, a video surfaced online. It showed Ethan at a beer pong party. If you're on probation for killing 4 people while drunk driving, beer pong should probably be on your do not touch list.
Hannah Hardy to the DA's office writing, "Ya boy Ethan Couch violating probation. I got more if you want."
When authorities came looking for him, Ethan and his mother, Tanya Couch, vanished. They ditched their house, dyed Ethan's hair, and went on the run.
The search is on for a rich and privileged teenager whose controversial affluenza defense set off a national firestorm. His lawyers able to keep him out of jail after killing 4 people in a drunk driving accident. But authorities say he's gone missing after failing to check in with his probation officer.
Where did they end up? Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Yes, Ethan Couch, the killer who got probation because of affluenza, became a fugitive sipping margarita by the beach. You couldn't make this up if you tried. But their grand escape didn't last. Mexican authorities caught them after someone ordered pizza to their hideout. That's right. After all the planning, they were brought down by Domino's. Even criminals can't resist a hot pepperoni.
Breaking news overnight, Mexican authorities, as you mentioned, Amy, detaining wealthy 18-year-old Ethan Couch, known as the affluenza teen, after a fatal drunk driving accident. The Texas teenager and his mother were on the run for weeks. After he allegedly violated probation, they were both taken into custody near Puerto Vallarta. ABC's Matt Gutman has the latest from Fort Worth, Texas this morning. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, David. And we learned that authorities are now in the process of bringing them back here. Now, the U.S. Marshal's Office alerted the Mexicans that they were in Puerto Vallarta on Christmas or the day after Christmas. 2 days later, they nabbed them off a busy tourist street. Ethan Couch, famously blonde, apparently dyeing his hair and goatee black.
They were caught near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Police charging Couch's mother with money laundering and preventing the capture of a fugitive. They were both brought back to the States where
Ethan was thrown in jail for a whopping 720 days for violating probation. Finally, some accountability. Well, a little. Ethan was released in 2018 after serving his 2 years. Since then, he's lived under strict probation conditions: curfews, drug and alcohol testing, no driving, and mandatory therapy. But drama follows Ethan Couch, like glitter follows a kindergarten art project. He's been arrested again for violating probation, and he remains a symbol of wealth shielding people from justice.
Well, once you've thought you've seen it all, you see stories like this one, and you find out that there's another level of madness in which we live. I think we can all agree that Ethan Couch's behavior wasn't about him being rich. It was about bad parenting. Also, if Ethan would have been poor, this story would have ended at the trial. Verdict: life in prison. This next story makes me laugh every time I see it. Two middle-aged twin sisters go into business selling screws and washers to the federal government. They charge $100 for the entire batch, but they charge $25,000 in shipping charges, and the government pays it. I love it.